You know those windmills you see on postcards, right? They look kind of quaint, like something from a storybook. But what if I told you that for more than 1,000 years, the windmill was pretty much the most advanced engine on the entire planet? Today, we're going to explore the incredible, forgotten story of this machine and how it, quite literally, built the world we live in. So think about this. Way before coal and steam changed everything, what kind of engine could you possibly build that would run around the clock, powered by fuel that was totally, 100% free? Well, the answer wasn't just some clever machine. It was humanity's first great engine, the windmill. So how did it all happen? We're going to start with its amazing origin story, how it was invented in different places at different times. Then we'll see how it harnessed the wind to solve our most basic problems. From there, we'll uncover how it reshaped entire countries and kicked off new industries. And finally, we'll trace its DNA all the way up to the giant turbines powering our world today. Okay, first up, a global invention. Now, what is so fascinating about the windmill is that it wasn't a single aha moment. It's this incredible example of parallel innovation, where completely different cultures came up with the same basic idea, but took two totally different engineering paths to get there. This timeline tells a pretty wild story. The idea first shows up in Persia, way back, 2 centuries before the Common Era. Then, a few hundred years later, boom, it pops up independently in China. But then it takes more than 1,000 years for a completely different design to show up in Europe. This wasn't one idea slowly spreading. It was a stroke of genius that just kept happening, in different places, in different ways. So, what were these two different designs? Well, as you can see, it all came down to the axis. The Eastern design was vertical. Think of it spinning like a carousel. Super simple, super brilliant, and perfect for the steady, one-directional winds you get on the plains of Persia. The European design, on the other hand, was horizontal, more like the pinwheel you had as a kid. It had to be, to catch the wild, shifting winds of the Atlantic coast. Two different environments, two brilliant solutions to the same problem. Let's zoom in on that vertical axis design. The main shaft stands straight up, and the early Persian models were so clever, they'd often build a wall around half the mill. This blocked the wind from hitting the sails that were rotating back around, which meant all the wind's power got focused on pushing the sails in the right direction. Simple, effective, but you really needed the wind to blow from the same direction most of the time. Okay, now let's hop over to Europe and its big innovation. With a horizontal axis design, the blades spin on an axle that's parallel to the ground. And the real game changer here was the ability to turn. The early post mills could be physically rotated, the whole building, to face the wind. Later, tower mills just had a rotating cap on top. This meant they could catch the wind no matter which way it was blowing, which just unlocked so much more power and versatility. So, you've got these incredible new engines. What do you do with them? Well, that brings us to our next section, harnessing the wind. This technology wasn't some kind of luxury item. It was a direct answer to the two problems every single civilization has to solve, getting enough food and getting enough water. Just about everywhere, the #1 job for a windmill was grinding grain into flour. But people found all sorts of uses for them. In China, those vertical axis windmills were perfect for pumping water into rice paddies. In the Middle East and Spain, they lifted water up to irrigate farms. And in the Netherlands, they were about to do something absolutely legendary. You know, it is really hard to overstate how big of a deal this was. Before the windmill, grinding grain was just this relentless, soul-crushing job that took up so many hours for so many people. By automating that one single task, the windmill created a massive surplus of the one resource you can never get more of, human time. It freed people up to invent, to trade, to build. This wasn't just about making bread, it was about unlocking human potential. And all this newfound power didn't just stay on the farm. Oh no, it scaled up, and it became the engine that literally reshaped both the land and industry itself. The windmill was about to become the unsung workhorse of the early industrial age, and nowhere was that more true than in the Netherlands. If you want to get a sense of the insane power we are talking about, just look at this number, 50%. In one famous project, an army of just 42 windmills worked nonstop for 3 years to pump an entire lake dry. The result? They created half of all the reclaimed land in the entire country up to that point. I mean, they weren't just moving water. They were literally building a nation out of the sea. And that raw power got put to work doing, well, everything. Windmills became factories. They powered enormous saws for the Dutch shipbuilding empire. They pounded pulp to make paper, they pressed seeds to get oil, they ground up exotic spices from all over the world, and they even ran machines for the textile industry. A single windmill could do the work of hundreds of people. All of this industrial power, as you can imagine, led to huge changes in society, which brings us to our next part, an engine of society. Because the windmill didn't just change the physical map, it completely re-engineered the economic and social world too. So check out the incredible chain reaction this thing kicked off. Step 1, you power your agriculture, which means more food and more land. Step 2, all that extra food can support workers in new industries that are also powered by windmills. Step 3, those industries start churning out tons of goods, creating a surplus you can sell all over the world. And step 4, all of that trade and wealth flows into growing cities like Amsterdam. One piece of tech creating a domino effect that builds a modern economy. And an economy like that needs people, a whole new kind of workforce. Suddenly, you've got these new professions. You have millwrights, who were basically the high-tech engineers of their day. You needed specialized carpenters and masons to build these complex structures. And you needed highly skilled millers to actually operate them. This created a whole new technical class of workers, making society more complex and more specialized. All right, let's bring it all home and talk about the windmill's legacy in our final section, from icon to inheritance. Because after centuries of being this incredible workhorse, the windmill transformed into something else. It became a powerful symbol and the direct ancestor of our energy future. This machine didn't just change the world, it totally captured our imagination. In the Netherlands, it became this huge symbol of national pride, of their victory over the sea. In China, it became a symbol of good fortune. And of course, in literature, it became an unforgettable, towering giant for Don Quixote to battle. It wasn't just an engine anymore, it was woven into our culture. But maybe its most important legacy is the one we are literally living with right now. I mean, look at a modern wind turbine. It might seem like it's from another planet compared to an old wooden mill, but the core idea, the physics, it's identical. You're capturing wind to turn a rotor to power a machine. We just swapped wood for fiberglass and grindstones for electric generators. But that brilliant, centuries-old idea, it's exactly the same. And that really leaves us with one big question, doesn't it? For hundreds of years, this ancient engine showed us that human ingenuity could build a prosperous world powered entirely by the wind. So today, as we're facing a whole new set of challenges, the question is, are we ready to learn that lesson again?